If they lose this game tonight, then you can cancel Christmas because you have some much bigger problems than just Caitlin Clark being out. You better take down the tree and pack up the ornaments because the worst-case scenario just happened. Can we please get a round of applause for Stephanie Away? We lost to the Connecticut Sun, folks. The 0-5 Connecticut Sun. The Fever's loss to the previously winless Sun marked a brutal low point in their Caitlin stretch. And now even the most loyal fans are starting to ask the hard question. Is this team actually any good without her? I had these 2 games as wins. Well, now I look at the schedule and I'm like, well, you can't take any of these games for granted. They could in theory lose all of them. It's not just that they've lost, it's how they've looked doing it. You have the Fever as a result, looking like one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in the league without Caitlin Clark. And now it's painfully clear this stretch without Caitlin isn't just a test for the Fever, it's a reckoning for the entire WNBA. The success of the WNBA rides on the success of the Indiana Fever, and specifically Caitlin Clark. The ratings are in, and yeah, they're slumping. The Fever look like they're spiraling. And without Caitlin Clark, they're not just losing games, they're losing the fans' faith. There are already calls for Stephanie White's job and real questions about whether this roster, especially with key injuries, can even stay afloat. But before you abandon ship, hear me out. It's not all doom and gloom. There is light at the end of this very bumpy tunnel. So let's break down exactly why fans are freaking out, what's actually going wrong, and why there's still hope. But first, go ahead and like this video if you're counting the days until Caitlin Clark returns. Drop a comment if you think the Fever are in serious trouble and hit that subscribe button. Let's dive in. The Indiana Fever deserve to be the laughingstock of the WNBA because of all the crap they pulled in preseason. We all knew the Fever would take a hit without Caitlin Clark. That was obvious, but I don't think anyone expected it to get this bad this fast. And the blowback has been intense. When the Fever lost to the Connecticut Sun, a team that had been winless, missing key players, and widely considered the worst in the league, fans and analysts lost it. X turned into a full-blown shot and Freude party. Non-Fever fans piled on, mocking everything from the roster to the coaching staff. And the cherry on top of the sundae. The Connecticut Sun's own social media account got in on the action, roasting the Fever. The Fever are getting, I'm not even going to say sneak dissed, very openly dissed by a team who lost their entire starting. 5 lost their coach to Indiana, lost one of their all-stars to Indiana, don't have a training facility, and were 0-5. And the reason this loss hit so hard because the Fever came into the season talking big. Their Now You Know campaign wasn't just bold, it was borderline prophetic trash talk. They weren't just aiming for respect, they were claiming the league. And honestly, with Caitlin Clark joining a reloaded roster full of veterans and new talent, it wasn't crazy to think this team had championship potential. But now without Caitlin, they've boarded the struggle bus and they're on a nationwide tour. We thought maybe they could tread water while she recovered. Go 500, stay in the mix. But after getting dropped by the windless Sun, yeah, all bets are off. You should win 3 out of every 4. You should be a good squad that blows out the Connecticut Sun without Caitlin Clark. So that makes me question how good is this team. But it's not just about 1 or 2 games. Fans and analysts have been calling out the Fever for the brand of basketball they've been playing, even with Caitlin Clark in the lineup. They're fed up with the coach, Stephanie White, who came in as this megamind and presents well in front of the press, but doesn't seem to understand what to do to get the most out of this team. And how much grace are we going to give to a coach because the coach says, we're working things out for the rest of the season. We're trying to figure out our identity. You shouldn't need to figure out your identity. You have Caitlin effing Clark on your team. At least run. Put in some effort, run. Don't try to grind a team down and win a game in the 70s because when Caitlin Clark comes back, you're not going to be able to do that. Remember those preseason interviews with Sophie Cunningham? She said she was excited for a fast-paced run-and-gun offense. Something dynamic, up-tempo, high-octane. Well, they've been anything but that. Instead of pushing the pace, the Fever have looked slow, stagnant, and confused, like a team still trying to find its identity. And without Caitlin Clark orchestrating, they just haven't been fun to watch. Last night was the commentators were talking about the Connecticut Sun and the Indiana Fever being the 2 slowest teams in the WNBA. If you told me that that would be something that was said on the broadcast during any Indiana Fever game, I would have thought you were insane. Literally the two slowest teams, with the Connecticut Sun being the slowest team in the WNBA. And just last night, once again, the Indiana Fever only had 4 points in transition buckets. The game before that, again, without Caitlin Clark, 0 points in transition buckets. Who would have thought the Fever, with all that preseason hype, would be one of the slowest teams in the entire league? I'll break down why that's a serious issue beyond just the box score in a second. Because this isn't just a Fever problem. It's something that could affect the entire WNBA, but it's gotten so bad that fans and analysts are already calling for major changes. And get this, some are actually missing Christie sides. This team plays worse offense than what Christie sides. Their motion offenses give the ball to the wing. 4 players stand around and is like, what are we meant to do? What are we meant to do? What are we meant to do? And then eventually the ball probably gets turned over. This was supposed to be a new day. This was supposed to be a new dawn, a new head coach, a new era for Indiana Fever basketball. And I would much rather, yes, folks, give me Christie sides back. Goodness gracious, I said it. Anyway, you slice it. The fan base is panicking right now. But honestly, it's not just a Fever problem. The entire league should be worried, because as the Fever go, so does the WNBA. When your biggest star is out and your most hyped team falls apart, it doesn't just tank local morale. It shakes the confidence of every new fan who is finally giving the league a shot. So, right here, Wednesday's Fever Mystics WNBA game averaged 357,000 viewers on NBA TV. That was without Caitlin Clark, but that's still way off. I mean, the previous NBA TV game against the Dream averaged 581,000 with Caitlin Clark. I've seen the ratings argument spun in a few different directions. On one hand, yes, ratings are clearly down without Caitlin Clark. No denying that. But then you've got people saying, hey, some of these games are still among the top draws on NBA TV. Which sounds good until you realize NBA TV isn't exactly prime real estate. But here's the truth that gets lost in all the spin. The WNBA wasn't booming before Caitlin. It was inching forward. Modest growth, yes, but still losing money year after year. $40 million down just last season. And now they're not just losing viewers, they're losing the casual fans. The ones who made the arenas loud, the broadcasts relevant, and the advertisers pay attention. Disaster. And a lot of people were like, well, Caitlin Clark's not growing the game if people won't tune in with her. Look, people tuned out when Jordan went to baseball. They tuned out of the NBA when Jordan went to baseball. And then when Jordan retired, they tuned back out again until Kobe came along. This is not hard. It's the same pattern you see across every major sport. When the biggest star isn't playing, casual fans disappear. And that's exactly what's starting to happen here. Now, sure, not everyone is smashing the panic button. Some are still pointing to decent numbers and trying to spin it as a win, but here's how I see it. A lot of people are tuning in right now just to see how the Fever hold up without Caitlin Clark. And so far, it's been brutal. And I think another negative is that the Indiana Fever play puke ball. Even with Caitlin Clark this season, they play puke basketball. And if the Fever keep playing like this, slow, sloppy, uninspired, and Caitlin's out for more than 4 games, the WNBA could lose a ton of momentum, all that hype, all those headlines, all the new eyeballs gone. Because momentum in sports is fragile, and without their biggest star and a competitive product, casual fans won't wait around. It doesn't take much to go from trending to forgotten. Now, I think this number will continue to go down if we see a product like we saw from the Indiana Fever versus the Washington Mystics. That was not fun basketball to watch. And this is something the league and maybe even the Fever still don't seem to get. The WNBA's slow growth, its years of stagnation, the constant struggle to break through. It's always been about the product. And there are 2 key parts to that product. First, excitement. Caitlin Clark brought it in buckets. She made the game must-see. Long threes, laser passes, edge-of-your-seat pace. That's what pulled in millions of new fans. Yes, there are other great players, but none of them brought the same energy, flair, or mainstream magnetism. That's why fans are tuning in. And right now, the Fever are not playing that brand of basketball. I'm sorry. There is no way you can have 0 fast break points a team unless you are actively trying to not run. Stephanie White was that coach. But when she came to the Indiana Fever, all she was saying is, we're going to play with pace. We're going to play fast. Where we know our strengths, we're going to shoot those threes. And you guys, the problem is that style of basketball is the style of basketball that the new fans fell in love with. And I'm sorry. That style of basketball is the most entertaining style of women's basketball that you can possibly watch. Nobody wants to watch the women's game. Play slow, be overtly physical, and here's the second part, and it's a big one. The WNBA seems to have this weird reward system where physicality is treated like a badge of honor, even when it crosses the line. Let's be real. Caitlin Clark took a beating last season, and this isn't just any rookie. This is the golden goose. The star driving ticket sales, viewership, merch, national coverage, the player everyone is here to see. And yet, it was like the league strapped her to the hood of a speeding car in a hailstorm and said, good luck out there. Zero protection, minimal whistles, constant hits. She even bulked up in the offseason just to absorb more contact. And still, the officials swallowed the whistle. And now the situation's getting worse. 2 more Fever players are down. Sophie Cunningham and Sydney Colson both knocked out by the same player, JCS Sheldon. So now Caitlin's out. 2 more teammates are sidelined. Ratings are dipping. Ticket prices are cratering. Fans are canceling trips. And suddenly, the WNBA is under the microscope because all of this feels preventable, like self-inflicted wounds that could have been avoided with a different approach. The NBA. I'm going to give such high praise to the NBA because they changed their game around for the better and made it something that was globally attractive, that was entertaining for fans, and that also protected the players first. The NBA protects their players at all costs. You can't do reckless things without getting fined, without getting suspended, without severely getting punished. You cannot do that. Right now, the physicality is taking its toll on the Fever, and it's not just a team problem. This is the kind of thing that can sink the entire league's momentum, or at the very least, tank the players' chances of making the kind of money they're hoping for in the next CBA. We are 1 year, 1 season before the new CBA negotiations, and I told you guys this is the biggest year in the WNBA. They can do so much this year if they have a good season. When the Indiana Fever does well, when they do well, when they put on a show on the court, more fans are going to tune in. When more fans tune into the Indiana Fever, they tune into every other team in the WNBA. And that's what the WNBA needs. If you start losing casuals, it's really hard to get them back. And the Fever are the key to winning over the casuals in Caitlin's absence. When the product they tuned in for suddenly disappears, or looks nothing like what they were promised, they don't stick around to trust the process. That's why this stretch without Caitlin is so dangerous. Every bad game, every viral lowlight, every missed opportunity makes it harder to reconvert the people who almost became deards. It's the casual viewers that make all this work, not the hardcore fans. It's the casual viewers that are pulling in these big ratings. Oh, Caitlin Clark's playing. The casual is going to tune in. Now, this all looks really bad, but I did promise this wasn't all doom and gloom. And there actually is light at the end of the tunnel. And it starts with one simple word: acceptance. Can we all just accept that Caitlin is essential? I know it. May not be desirable to have all your eggs in one basket, but that's the case here. There's no denying it anymore. The data is clear. The ratings, the ticket sales, the cultural footprint, it's all tied to Caitlin Clark. You got to think the league will wake up and start protecting her at all costs unless they'd really rather prioritize the old guard's feelings than, win with Caitlin. And then there's this hits it. She's got time, cloud defending, Clark trying to create some airspace, long 3 at applause, the Caitlin Clark rising from the asses here in the 3rd quarter. As rough as the Fever have looked lately, and even if they weren't exactly dominant before the injury, they were just a few questionable calls away from beating the Liberty, one of the best teams in the league. And that game, it pulled in a peak of 3. 3 million viewers, the highest in WNBA history. And Caitlin was injured. She still went out there, drew the biggest audience the league has ever seen, and still put on a show. That tells you everything you need to know about her value and potential to bounce back strong. And here's the thing. Caitlin Clark is not out with a torn ACL. It's a quad strain. She's already back out there shooting 3s at practice. She probably could play if she really had to, but they're doing the smart thing and making sure she's 100% before rushing her back. And when she does return, she's going to be better for it. That's what really matters. Here's the reality. The Fever are 2-4. They were 1-8 last year before turning things around. Yeah, we can question the coaching. And yeah, it's fair to be disappointed in the way some of the vets have stepped up or haven't. But this is a brand new team. They've only played 6 games. The season is far from lost when Caitlin comes back healthy. And if this team can learn from early adversity, they'll be better for it. The Sun Dame, that was rock bottom. But that's also the kind of moment you rally around. So no, it's not time to panic. It's time to regroup. Worry about the product on the court, because at the end of the day, these millions of fans who are coming in want to see a good product on the court. They want to see the product that they fell in love with. They want to see fast basketball. They want to see three-pointers. They want to see these girls having so much energy and a fiery spirit. They want to see that. Don't want to see slow basketball, and they especially don't want to see losses when that's not what this team promised. Now, if Caitlin comes back and the Fever are still playing slow, uninspired basketball, still making the same mistakes, and we're 10 more games in, then yeah, it's time for a serious evaluation. By that point, we'll be about halfway through the season, and the excuses start to run out. It won't just be about missing pieces or early chemistry issues. It'll be about what's broken and what needs fixing. But honestly, just like with the WNBA, Caitlin Clark is the system right now. She's the engine, the identity, the reason people show up. And until this team finds a way to operate with or without her, they'll live and die by her performance. And that's a lot to carry, but she's proven she can handle it. And hopefully out of all this, the league wakes up and realizes the opportunity they have. Because if the Fever fail, so does everyone. This might be the one thing I'm not optimistic about. The WNBA's collective Achilles heel, its inability to fully accept Caitlin Clark. We can only hope Caitlin comes back soon. The coaching. Staff finally puts her and the team in the best position to succeed, and we start seeing the kind of product fans were promised. There's a great Steve Martin quote, "Be so good they can't ignore you." That's exactly what Caitlin and the Fever need to do. Be undeniable. Let the basketball speak louder than the narratives, because without Caitlin and without fun basketball, people are already tuning out. If you're still here, drop a trophy in the comments because you're a winner for sticking around till the end. Thanks for watching. See you next time. All from Logo 3.